Welcome to Season 2, Episode 88 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me today I have the team of Matt Aguilar,
what up?
Janelle Wheeler,
hey guys,
and today's special guest host is Mr. JV Lovett, returning once again to the podcast.
Hello.
And today we got some good topics. We are going to be talking about the Save Daredevil campaign and what's going on with the rights to Daredevil, the Netflix series that is, the Marvel Netflix series. We're also going to be talking about the latest episode of The Mandalorian and how it introduced a live-action Ahsoka Tano to Star Wars and what happened and where we go from here with Ahsoka Tano in the Star Wars universe. Plus, today's review is the comic book Batman Catwoman by controversial Batman writer Tom King, and we are here to kind of delve into that. Matt and I were big fans of Tom King's City of Bane arc, and, we took on a lot of that and the controversy about that, and so we're going to talk about how Tom King fits into this equally, even more controversial Batman Catwoman love story. So we're going to get into all of that. But right at the top of the show, we got to talk about some changes that we are going to be bringing to Comic Book Nation. So we put our heads together after a very long and strange Season 2 and decided that we want to make some kind of procedural changes to the show. So the first one is we are going to be kind of streamlining the show down to a tighter time format. We've been getting into episodes that were like 70 minutes long, but right now those are things of the past. And it's not so much that we don't want to talk to you guys longer. It's that we just feel like we've been trying to talk about things and strain conversation while the entertainment industry is kind of in a shutdown spiral. And we want to bring you guys only the best. So we're going to be bringing you a tighter show, and we're also going to be cutting it down to once a week for now. And these things are fluid, but this is just kind of a reality of where we're at in the entertainment industry. We'd rather take more time of having better discussion with you guys rather than kind of trying to keep the same format while movies and stuff stall and TV shows aren't that interesting and productions start and stop. So those are just two kind of procedural changes we're making to the show. And as I said, these things are fluid. I mean, we have a very different show in Season 2 than we had in Season 1. And who knows what's going to happen in Season 3. We have big plans. And so until then, we'll be doing one show a week. And it's not a bad thing because we figure we can capture more of what's going on in the larger kind of conversational space of the fandom and zero in on those topics, have better discussions, bring you guys in, do live shows, get you guys more involved in the show, all things we can do that are feasible if we have less shows to do. So we are going to go for a quality approach in this, get you guys more involved, and we're going to see how that works. And we're kind of excited about that. So I'm sure you've begun to notice that the show format has changed a little bit. Today will be no different. We will be doing 2 episodes this week just to give you guys a runway before we make the change to once a week. So this week, the first week of December, we will be doing 2 episodes before we go to a 1-show-a-week format. Now, that all said, let's get into what we're going to be discussing. So, as I said at the top of the show, we're going to be talking about Save Daredevil. There's a lot of fan campaigns and petitions out there. It can be hard to keep track, but Daredevil was a big one. Daredevil was canceled by Netflix 2 years ago, and we just a couple days ago hit that 2-year mark. And the big thing, of course, I'm sorry if you heard that involuntary burp that just fell out of me. That's a first for the show. Like I said, long straight Season 2. Hey! Yeah, that was gross. So Daredevil was canceled 2 years ago. The rights have now, there was a moratorium put, so the Netflix shows could use certain characters for a certain amount of episodes. Once those were done, there was a 2-year freeze on using the characters, and then the rights went back to Marvel. Right. So as unbelievable as it seems, it has been that 2 years already, because I feel like we just wrote the Netflix universe canceled articles yesterday. And
everybody was apparently devastated.
Timey-wimey. It's all just
timey-wimey.
We TARDIS and now we're here. Wish we could have changed a few things on the way of our time traveling, but here we are. But so Daredevil, the rights are going back to Marvel, and they're now at Marvel Studios. And so this has been a big kind of kick up for the Save Daredevil campaign. And the thing is, I love Daredevil, and I love the Marvel Netflix universe, but I thought this is kind of a tricky situation, and it's not just as easy as, let's save Daredevil, because, what does that mean? And this is what I wanted to talk about with you guys. What does Save Daredevil mean to you? Like, do you like everything enough about Daredevil that we should be saving all of it? Because there are obvious choices, like Charlie Cox as Daredevil Matt Murdock. Yes, I don't think a lot of fans argue about that. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin Wilson Fisk. I don't think a lot of fans argue about that. But when you get into some of the things the show did with the supporting characters and dragging that out and the drama of that, do you guys want to save all of Daredevil, or do you want to kind of take a pick and choose thing, or do you want to just make something new for the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Matt, let's put you on the hot seat first.
I want to, because I love Daredevil. Like, Daredevil is such a great show as its own. But what I will say is I would like them to cherry pick, because I feel like that part of the universe wasn't really, it was built in a different time. So now going forward, I don't know. I would just like Charlie Cox as Daredevil. I liked Elektra in the show. Like, I like a lot of the supporting characters in that show. So bring them over, but don't necessarily, like, you don't have to keep all the continuity the same. Like, you don't have to bring over everything. You don't have to retcon into a bunch of MCU movies like, oh, this happened over here and you weren't paying attention. Like, I don't want all that, because that just complicates things, and it's unnecessary, really. People will be happy enough to have those characters in the MCU. They don't care. And you don't need to, like, go over every breadcrumb. I'm fine.
So you're saying port the cast over, but lose the continuity and start the continuity.
Don't like beholden to it. You don't have to be beholden to it if some things make sense.
Or just say, like that loose reboot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it happened. We don't talk about it, but it happened. And it's just like over there. Okay. And the caveat is we can do all this. I mean, from what we're hearing about Spider-Man 3, we can pick and choose anything. Right. But this,
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
So, but you're down for the supporting characters to come. Like, you're down on Team Karen, Team Foggy, the same actors, and like all of that.
Yes, I wasn't a fan of some of their storylines during those 3 seasons occasionally, but that's with any character. I like them in those characters. So yeah, bring over the cast, keep that intact, and go from there.
Jamie. I always want to know what Jamie Lovett has to say, because Jamie, he doesn't hold back here. He lets his opinion be known. How do you feel about this Marvel Netflix stuff in the MCU?
I feel like it should be all or nothing. Like, Daredevil is essentially, he's sad Spider-Man, right? He's power and responsibility with Catholic guilt poured on top. That's all he is, and they got that right with the broad strokes on the Netflix show. So if you come in and you reboot it or change it for Disney Plus or wherever, Hulu, wherever they want to put it, what's it going to be? It's just going to be that reheated. So why bother? You've already done 3 seasons of work. Just continue. Who cares if it matches up with the movies? I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just if you're going to keep it going, just keep it going. There are things I also don't like about. I will never forgive them for the storyline where Karen Page walks into a dead reporter's office and just takes his job. Like,
that's hilarious.
That is.
Hey,
I don't understand how that works.
About? How did half of us get our jobs in comic book?
God, that's great.
No, seriously.
He's silence. He's like, I'm not touching that chipmunk.
Yeah, I mean, we won't go into that, but there's some corpse desks that I've inhabited in our offices, whether literal or figurative. We refer to our business as being like The Walking Dead in many ways, but Anyway, so Jamie's going. You're for all or nothing. Janelle, as a tie vote and as like not as huge a comic nerd as the rest of us, what do you say?
Well, I will say that I did watch this, as well as all of the shows that kind of come together with this one, and I'm kind of on board with Matt. I feel like I really did like their casting. I thought it was great. I definitely don't want them to just throw everything away and start new. But I don't think they have to be so obsessive. Like, they don't have to make everything make sense. Just like Matt said, like I feel like it's happened a lot with like Doctor Who and other similar shows that I watch where, if they want to call back, they can. If they want to like connect something in some way, they can. But they also don't always do it. And that's okay with me. I'm all right with that. I just don't want them to change the cast, because I really, really enjoy the cast. And then it gets into the other shows like Luke Cage or Iron Fist. Like, are they going to bring all of those over? It's just, it's a spiral, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Where do they end that? Like, where do they stop that?
I think I'm in the pick and choose camp, and I like the cast. I think I was more dedicated on these Netflix shows than most people. I enjoyed a lot of the season 2s even. So, I was kind of really into it, but I don't know that there are certain people that I would see in like a big budget MCU film. Like, I don't know if I see like, and I love Deborah Ann Wall's, like her role as Karen Page, I thought was great. But I don't know if I see that Karen Page and that Foggy kind of like matching up into the MCU as much. Just in terms of like who they'd be kind of interacting with and what kind of stories we would do. I could see Foggy appearing more so in like a Spider-Man movie or something like that.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Karen Page, not so much. And it again touches that question that Janelle brings up. Like, then is that the standard for everybody? Because I don't necessarily want to see the same Danny Rand as Iron Fist in the MCU.
I wouldn't. I mean, he was
and that's
okay,
nothing against Finn Jones. Like,
yeah.
Again, if you wrote something different, it might be better. But like, I was never really like the biggest fan of him, and I don't know if he's like an international movie star.
Yeah, I was thinking more for a show. I wasn't even thinking about movies. That's a whole different thing now. If we're talking, they get their own film.
Well, this is what you got to do. If they go into like a full-on MCU series, like then the fence is wide open. They can hop the fence.
Which is actually why, like, to clarify, when I'm looking at this, I am more looking at this for keeping the cast together for a movie, like injecting these characters into the movie universe, less than doing another like season 4 of a
I want season 4.
I have my eyes more on the future, mostly because of what Jamie said, is that like unless you're going to continue the story in a series, then you're gonna obviously retread some things. So for me, just like I want these characters in the MCU, move them forward, slowly build them through movies. And then if you want to do a series later on, because then you've built up some material of your own and new things and new interactions, cool. I'm more looking at it that way as opposed to like season 4 Daredevil. Because to me, that there's a little bit of like, I get where Jamie's coming from of like, well, do we want to go over that again? It's like seeing Batman's origin for the 8th time. Like, I don't need to see that. I already saw it.
And piggybacking off what Matt's saying, I mean, does the MCU really need these characters anymore? I mean, you're talking about Iron Fist, like, you want a martial arts superhero, they have a Shang-Chi movie coming up. You want a dark, gritty superhero like Daredevil, they have a Moon Knight series coming up. It feels like they already, not to say that you can only have one of those kind of heroes by any means, but they do have at least one of those kind of heroes pretty much down the line.
And they have a ton on their plates in general.
Right. And I think Jamie touches on the thing of why I'm in camp, pick and choose certain actors, lose the continuity, and just maybe pick the stars. Because I think that what he's saying is kind of absolutely true. I think instead of just a Daredevil series and stuff going forwards, I think these characters from the Netflix series would be most effective as kind of already familiarized kind of cameos or guest appearances in other things that would make it, into more of an event. So, because you don't have to do the work, right? If Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock shows up in the next Moon Knight series or some Spider-Man spin-off series or whatever
that would get such a huge pop, and you don't have to do anything else.
No, exactly. Yeah. We don't have to tell any backstory about here's how Matt Murdock got here 48 hours. Like, none of that. Like, we can it's Charlie Cox. People love him. They know him. They know an even better suit he'll get. They know Vincent D'Onofrio in the Kingpin, and like that's all you really got to go with, because we're not going to get I don't want to get with what we have on the level of MCU storytelling, even on TV that's coming our way. I don't need to get dragged into Karen Page's hometown backstory anymore. Again, I sent Deborah Ann Wall a tweet saying how good she was in that episode. I loved that episode, and I loved her
a lot in that part.
Yes, but when we're talking about on this different scale of the MCU in connectivity, it's something different. Like WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, all this stuff. Like, I hope they don't have like weird Karen Page side B storylines that like drag us down, but I don't expect they will. I think that's one of those things Kevin Feige's course correcting on. So, yeah, I think you just need the big event characters for right now, especially in the beginning, and maybe let some of those other castings fade away more before you have to get into Daredevil's whole world.
Yeah, I agree. I also think if there's another series of the Netflix stuff, Mike Coulter's Luke Cage is the other one. Like, that's Mike Coulter's, other one I want. He is Luke Cage to me.
The only debate would be Danny Rand, and if Finn Jones got some proper training and he was just a guest appearance and he got his butt kicked by Shang-Chi in a Shang-Chi movie, like I would love to see that.
Don't put him next to Louis Tan again. That was unfortunate.
Yeah, no, like, but if he got like a flashback to Shang-Chi training with his syndicate and them fighting Kunlun and him sparring and kicking Danny Rand's butt would be an awesome thing that again got fans to pop without having to do much. So, but yeah, Mike Coulter's Luke Cage and definitely Kristen Ritter's Jessica Jones, like absolutely, hands down, that's easy for me. So, all right, let us know what you guys think about Save Daredevil, where you stand on all this. We always keep having these MCU continuity is a funny thing these days, but we keep having this debate. So let us know where you guys stand. All right, we're going to be moving right along over to Star Wars and talking about the future of Ahsoka Tano. So The Mandalorian just aired or streamed Chapter 13, The Jedi, which took Mando and Baby Yoda, or Grogun, as we know his name to be now.
Grogu?
Grogu. Oh.
Grogu.
Ew, that sounds worse. I like Grogu. Grogu. I mean,
I like Grogun. I like Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I'm going with Baby Yoda. Like, I'm not calling him Grogu, so you can take that. Keep that BS, Star Wars. I'm calling him Baby Yoda because that's what he is. He's a baby version of Yoda. He's cute. We love it. It's awesome.
I'm referring to the other one as adult Grogu from now on.
Yeah, so Baby Yoda and Mando go to this forest planet where we find Ahsoka Tano. It has been kind of leading this one-woman rebellion against this evil magistrate for reasons unknown at the beginning of the episode. And basically, Mando hooks up with her. Not in that sense. They kind of meet and they sit down, and she uses the Force to help him kind of translate Baby Yoda non-speak into information about who this person is, Grogu, and what his backstory is. He was, snuck out of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. He's important, and he's been in hiding from the Empire. So after kind of getting that, Ahsoka Tano and Mando team up, they take down this evil magistrate. Mando decides to be Baby Yoda's daddy officially. And they're going to go find a Jedi temple where they can call other Jedi, because Ahsoka says she's not really qualified. She's too kind of PTSD after the whole Anakin Skywalker thing to kind of train him. So she sends them to a temple where they can call on other Jedi to train Baby Yoda or see if he should just be retired from the Force. So that's the kind of overview. This episode was, I think, for me, really successful. You know that I'm a big Clone Wars, Rebel Star Wars animation fan, and that's been basically like Ahsoka Tano's unofficial storyline for those. And I loved Rosario Dawson as the live-action Ahsoka, and I think she did a great job in Dave Filoni of showing people why this character is so awesome, why she's become such an icon to so many Star Wars fans. And she just looked cool in a lot of those scenes in this episode with her two white lightsabers.
Dual white lightsabers rock.
Yeah, those were awesome. And
they did such a good job with those.
Yeah, and her fight with the magistrate was awesome. All that stuff was great. So the question now is that we're discussing is where does this go from here? I think a lot of us have been kind of speculating that these characters from Clone Wars that we're going to see in Mandalorian, Bo-Katan Kryze, Ahsoka Tano, were part of a larger seasonal story arc, but it's looking like that's a bit more of a question now as we kind of see where the season's going. It's arguable that both these appearances, there's something that Matt, in your interview with Sasha Banks, you were talking to her, and I think you kind of came to the conclusion that she said something that it was probably her only appearance in The Mandalorian this year was Chapter 12 or Chapter 11. So it sounds like we might not see these characters pop up again except for these kind of one-off roles. That's just speculation. We don't know what the finale of the season is going to be. But Ahsoka's definitely on her own journey. She's out there looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is a whole other thing we'll get to. Bo-Katan's on her journey, which, I see her, if anybody could reappear, it would be her fighting Moff Gideon for this Darksaber. But it seems like Ahsoka's thing is on another path. Now, before we got into this, if you guys have been listening to the show in Season 2, we talked to Ashley Eckstein, the voice of the animated Ahsoka, and we were all over these rumors about Rosario Dawson taking this role. And it's been rumored for some time that there's an Ahsoka spinoff coming in the works. And this episode certainly seems like an Arrowverse-style kind of backdoor pilot for an episode, for a spinoff, right?
Yeah.
So let's discuss.
I want to know what she's up to.
Do you guys want to see an Ahsoka Tano spinoff? Do you think there's enough there? what do you want it to be about, and how, or like what kind of format do you want it to take? Janelle.
More content.
I love it. Didn't even get the question out.
Said this in so long. More content.
Well, Janelle, let's go to you because unless I'm wrong, you didn't watch any of the Star Wars animated stuff.
No,
right?
but
So
after this episode, I had some serious research to do because in order to really experience this properly, I feel like you have to figure out who she is and what she's about. Because otherwise it's just another character and there's not like a ton of dialogue or anything. So I am just so excited to see what the heck is going on with Thrawn and her affiliation. I feel after trying to understand his role and all of his backstory, if he's a good guy or a bad guy, is he Empire, Republic? I don't know. And I just want to know, like, why is she on this quest to find him? I don't know if we're going to see, like, are we going to follow her now? Or are we staying with the Mandalorian? I don't,
well,
that's what I want to know.
We can fill in some of that for you. So Ahsoka's kind of really came out in Clone Wars, the animated series, which is set between episodes 2 and 3. And she's introduced as Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, and they had this very odd couple relationship in the beginning because he's reckless and she doesn't listen. She's also reckless, but eventually they bond over this.
And she references him in this episode of Mandalorian. Yeah,
when she says that she knows what happens when fear
really
gets into a powerful
touching
Force user and all that.
Yeah,
and so she she got framed by some dark side users for a murder she didn't commit and sabotage against the Republic, and so the Jedi Council turned against her, and eventually they cleared her name. Anakin cleared her, but because they doubted her, she didn't feel like the Jedi. And she also had kind of issues about the Jedi, which turned out to be totally true, that they had been kind of too close with the Republic. They become these soldiers instead of what they were supposed to be. And she was right, and that's how they got blindsided and taken out by Darth Sidious. And she left the Order right before that happened. And she survived Order 66 because she helped Bo-Katan free Mandalore from Darth Maul, and Darth Maul knew what Sidious was up to, and he tipped Ahsoka off right before Order 66, and she kind of felt what was happening in the Force, and she managed to escape with Captain Rex and survive Order 66. She went into hiding. Right. Now, there's a bunch of Star Wars books that I'm not going to ever read that talk about random stuff she did on random planets. None of that. I mean, it's canon.
I would like to see a show about all that.
No, not me. I'm good.
Her whole adventure?
I mean, random references and flashbacks in an episode, and I'll say if they do a series of her, I would like it to be present day, flashing back to some of the gaps we have in her story.
Got it.
So some of those books could be depicted in flashback, but I don't need a whole series about it because they're kind of boring. Nothing really happens. It's just about her finding out how to be a new kind of Jedi. So then she resurfaces. She meets Bail Organa, Leia's father, who recruits her into the rebellion under the codename Fulcrum, and she hooks up with the crew from Rebels. And she helped them during their kind of early days of the rebellion. She faced Darth Vader at a Sith temple while battling she faced Maul and Vader in this epic showdown. And the series ended with the Rebels caused so much trouble in the early days of rebellion that the Empire brought in one of their best masterminds, who was the naval officer, Grand Admiral Thrawn, who was this like really kind of just messed up, intelligent, schemer, and he was a very dangerous foe, and the Rebels couldn't really defeat them. Kanan died. They couldn't fully beat him, and so Ezra Bridger sacrificed himself by basically trapping Thrawn on a spaceship and zooming them out into deep space, the two of them, where they were lost for they were lost, and that's why we don't know about them in main Star Wars continuity.
Yeah.
So they've been gone. So the Mandalorian basically reveals that Thrawn is still alive. And he's back from deep space and up to kind of whatever plot he's up to using this magistrate and whatever she was doing and, whatever schemes he's making. So presumably now Star Wars fans are all giddy because Thrawn is out there. The ending of Rebels is kind of continuing, and presumably Ezra Bridger a much older Ezra Bridger might also be out there, who was this other key kind of Force user character that emerged at the time that after the Jedi fell. So that's all that backstory. And so an Ahsoka series could essentially take place in the early days of the sequel trilogy after Return of the Jedi, with her searching on this search for Thrawn and flashing back to the days during the original trilogy, that era of time and what she was doing while hiding from me.
I love that. And if they don't do her own series about this, I would like them to show what's happening with Thrawn in this series. I want to know what's going on, because from just the research I've done, it seems as though Thrawn might be kind of this other thing, this other entity, and who's creating like his own army and his own base and all of this, and going up against the Empire. I don't know. It just seems very interesting to me, and I hope that it's either part of this story or it gets its own story, because I'm super intrigued. Yeah, I'm very intrigued by that character, both of them.
And I think I'm with you in the sense that I think this would have to be basically a live action Star Wars Rebels continuation sequel series, basically picking up Ahsoka, Ezra, Sabine Wren, Rex, Captain Hera, and all that stuff, and like what they were doing during the actual rebellion.
I'd watch that.
Yeah,
I would totally watch that.
It's interesting. I don't know if you guys saw where Filoni hinted that last scene in Rebels may actually take place after this episode of The Mandalorian. So what I'm getting out of that is that Ahsoka is looking for Thrawn because she's looking for Ezra, and that, what the Ahsoka series, if it happens, might be is she goes back to Lothal, gets Sabine, and they go off on their quest like you saw at the end there. And it's interesting because like Thrawn is this big bad villain from the old expanded universe. In the old expanded universe, he was hiding out in the unknown regions, building his own army, like Janelle was talking about. So what I'm getting out of this is that they've kind of set him up in the same position in the new continuity, where the space whales took him off into the outer regions, and whether his army is the First Order or something separate, it feels like the kind of thing that can turn all the Star Wars plans that are out there into its own little mini MCU, where the Ahsoka show can be dealing with it, but also, still happening in The Mandalorian. And that's interesting with those ties to Palpatine, with the clones and the First Order and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's lots of stuff.
It's exciting.
Dave Filoni is very much Kevin Feige level world builder, and it's cool to get him see play on this bigger scale with the live action.
Killing it, man.
So is Ahsoka against Thrawn, or is she wanting to team up with?
We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break. Patience, we'll come back and we'll close out all of that about what's going on and move on to our last topic, Batman, Catwoman. Stay tuned. All right. So, Janelle, you had a final question. Goes to you, Janelle Giller.
Ahsoka, is she trying to find Thrawn to team up with, or does she want to take him down?
I think what Jamie's alluding to is that we don't know exactly why she wants to find Thrawn. I mean, Thrawn's a bad guy. He's not somebody you want to leave out there. So there's that. But she may be finding Thrawn to find Ezra, because Star Wars Rebels ended with this kind of epilogue about the various Rebels characters and kind of like what happens to them after this formative period in the early days of the rebellion. And so like Captain Hera is one of the ships that like shows up in Rogue One to kind of fight the Empire and get the Death Star plans, and so these were the people who helped inspire the rebellion. So the story of what happened to them throughout the rebellion is actually a big thing. Like Captain Rex has been retconned to be one of those soldiers on Endor who fought in Return of the Jedi and stuff like that. So one of the things that's a hole in that is what happened to Ahsoka during that time. Like I said, there's books that she was hiding on planets, but there's also like uncapped time. And her epilogue is she and Sabine Wren, who is a Mandalorian, and a rebel, teamed up to go find Ezra, and to not, because the series was about Ezra. He was kind of the main character, and they didn't want to leave him lost in space with Thrawn, so they were going to go find him, but they had no idea where to look or how to find him. And so what Jamie's saying is now the Mandalorian suggesting that this scene at the end of Rebels of them going to look for him takes place after the Mandalorian. So we could actually get a series of her trying to find Thrawn as a means to finding Ezra, or learning something about Ezra's fate that would make her want to take down Thrawn,
Cool.
Yeah. So, but that's it. That's for Star Wars, Ahsoka Tano, and everything we're looking forward to. I think we're all hoping that more continues with Ahsoka now in live action, because, I mean, she is the ultimate gap filler of Star Wars. Literally, when they have continuity gaps, they go back and fill in an Ahsoka story to kind of make it all right. And so we still have a big stretch of time in the early days during the OT and the early days of this era before, in the 30 plus years between the end of Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. So she could definitely occupy that time, because the end of the story we know is she is one of the voices that helps Rey defeat Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker, and she's still alive at that time. So there you go. That's Star Wars for you. We keep watching The Mandalorian every week. All right, moving right along today's comic review. Let's talk Batman and Catwoman. So, as I said at the start, Tom King, one of the most controversial Batman writers in recent years. People seem to either love him or hate him. I didn't even know this because I'm in the love camp. I actually love what he does. I like Batman as more theatrical play than comic book pulp. It's interesting to me. And so one of the most controversial things that Tom King did was, of course, the Batman Catwoman wedding. That didn't really make fans happy when that happened, but he's gone with it. He's stuck. At least he sticks to his guns, right? So Batman and Catwoman have been like a running thing in his Batman books. They even call each other pet names like Bat and Cat. And now we have this mini series. And if that wasn't enough, that Tom King was just taking his most controversial storyline and spinning it out into an entire series as an MV.
Yes.
He also was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach back and take one of your favorite Batman things of all time, Batman the Animated Series movie, Mask of the Phantasm, and I'm going to play with that too. Because right now, I'm not just satisfied playing with like Watchmen and Rorschach and all that stuff. I also want to play with Batman Mask of the Phantasm and all your favorite toys. So Batman and Catwoman also kind of weirdly functions as a Batman Mask of the Phantasm sequel series. It brings back Andrea Beaumont, the Phantasm, and it runs this really intricate 3-timeline kind of non-linear story. Again, in Tom King fashion, with a lot of dialogue, right? So first off, let's go around the room. How did you guys just even feel about this, the way this issue presented its story and the format? And did you have to, I had to read this like at least twice. And there are some things that Comixology guided view could just not handle, and this is one of them. You actually have to look at an entire page of this at once to be like, where am I and what's happening? Because panel to panel, you can get very lost very quick.
As someone who likes guided view a lot, that is totally true.
Oh yeah, no, I love guided view, but I was like, zoom out, let me see everything.
Yeah, that's right.
I do not know what's happening. So it was convoluted, but I liked it. I will say I liked it, and I actually, even though it's convoluted and intricate, I actually like how the thematics between the 3 timelines are tying things together, and the kind of motifs they're going. And we're going to talk full spoilers because there is some big reveals by the end of this issue about like kind of what's going on. But the 3 timelines are present day now, Batman and Catwoman trying to help Andrea Beaumont find her missing son, what brought her out of hiding as he snuck back into Gotham. There's the storyline of the past of Batman and Catwoman's early days, and specifically Catwoman and Joker's kind of conversation about her occupying this weird space as a villain and Batman's lover, and a future timeline with a very kind of elderly Catwoman taking this road trip to a trailer park to go see this dude for a kind of old people's conversation about the past and what all's happened in their lives. And that's exactly what it is.
Description ever.
Like, oh, how you been? How are your kids?
Wouldn't that be the current timeline then? And then both of those other ones are just in the past?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because
in present day, Batman and Catwoman are middle-aged and in their prime. In the future, Catwoman's old.
Oh, so it lets us see the future.
Even though, it's just so weird because like it's Black Label, it's also DC, so like this could be one of those like possible future things that they like to do in other books. Who knows?
I'm actually glad you say that.
Yeah, it's not like this continuity is Black Label continuity. Yeah,
I am very relieved.
Basically, if people like it, it's real, and if people don't like it,
yeah.
And they
that's true.
Just by dipping into Mask of the Phantasm is playing outside of continuity and with a lot of ideas that are questionable about continuity, because that movie uses continuity things that are very questionable, like about.
Oh yeah, that movie is totally by itself in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So you wanted to get around the room, so.
Well, I just want to say I'm very relieved that I was not the only one that had to read this twice, at least, and that it was a little confusing at first because I thought I was just completely in over my head. I could not understand what was happening until about halfway through, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start over halfway through because I need to understand what's going on. So that makes me feel better.
I feel like that description is a lot of King books in the last 10 years. I feel like maybe it's because like coming off of Rorschach, Heroes in Crisis, like some of these other, and of course his Batman run, like he tends to do that a lot where like middle of the book, it doesn't really all gel until then.
Right.
That's just like a trend of his. But yeah, I mean, I dig this. I am very much in the no sacred cows camp. So take all these things that like everybody says is you don't mess with or whatever and play with them and see what something cool happens. I mean, as long as you don't screw it up. And so far there's a lot of interesting things at play. We'll see how it all plays out at the end. But I think I really liked how we weave some of that stuff in. And I'm just because I read Batman 104 right after, and that was unfortunate for Batman 104 because going from like this kind of back and forth between Selina and Bruce, which I have missed so much during all the Joker War stuff and the designer stuff, coming back to that and like seeing like what feels more like an actual couple. And it creates this thing of like, wow, how much I missed it from like the last 20 issues of Batman regular.
Lots of snogging.
Lots of snogging, but it's like also Clayman's art is stunning, though.
Beautiful.
A couple gratuitous butt shots. Lots
of booty.
Let's bring that in a little bit.
I was about it. That was one of my favorite parts.
But it's just like
well, I was
like
shocked about the alarm bypass sequence where Batman wakes up in bed and there's
Black Label, baby.
Yeah, like, taking advantage of that Black Label thing.
I was just like, whoa, okay, yeah.
But that's my 2 cents.
Cat pose. All right, got it. So anyway, Jamie, how do you feel? I'm always interested to hear what you're going to come out with.
I guess I'm the downer here because I didn't like it, frankly. I mean, Mask of the Phantasm is one of my favorite Batman things ever. I'm not necessarily against playing with it. Like, under the right circumstances, I'd be very into Phantasm being taken into comics canon or whatever. But here it just feels like they took a story that is in part very good because of its simplicity and humanity, and we're like, I'm going to pretense this up with songs and really hard to follow narrative storytelling and bouncing back and forth without really telling you when I'm doing it. And I don't know. I just found it kind of a mess.
Well, I think kind of what you and Matt are both saying, and Tom King does, is he takes things that are normally in the comic book pulp, in the pulp tradition, and are very highly dramatic moments, and makes them incredibly understated. Like Andrea Beaumont just shows up in Bruce Wayne's, living room, for a drink, and is like, "Hey, Bruce, what's up again?" And the last time he saw her, she was seemingly died in a fire battling Joker, and left him just a little calling card to say, "Hey, I may still be alive." And he's just like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And he's like, and Catwoman's like, "Didn't his girl die?" And she's like, Joker survived. She apparently did too. She's just been chilling, hiding from Joker. You know how it is. And it's just like that, again, like in a normal comic, at the end of issue 1, there would have been this major reveal that Bruce Wayne goes home after all this trouble in, who's some mysterious boy Joker's after him. It's like, Andrea Beaumont's back from the dead. And it's like, nope. And this is just like, Phantasm's back. And like, yep, her son gets killed. And at the end, she goes and digs up her Phantasm thing. And she's like, yep, I'm going to be Phantasming again. Because, and that's just what it is. But what I like what King does, and I'll say this, is we haven't talked about the ending. So the end reveal is that the timeline in the future where Selina Kyle takes this kind of coastal road trip down to this trailer park and meets this old man for some old man talk. The old man is actually Joker. And Batman's died, apparently, of cancer. And they have this touching moment where Joker's really emotional about it, and he's crying. And they throw this twist because they're hugging, and Selina, she says, "What do we do now? This feels like the end of something." And she says, "Oh, you know what we're going to do now. He can't stop me. I'm going to kill you." And that's when you're like, wait, what? And then Joker kind of takes off this old man makeup, and he is old man Joker. His hair is falling out, but he's still very much Joker, and he just starts cracking up that Selina's going to kill him. And the suggestion is that there's something that's going to play out here with Andrea Beaumont and Phantasm and Joker, and it's going to mess both Batman and Catwoman up pretty bad by the end of it. Enough so that Catwoman had this grudge for how many decades before she's going to go back and.
Which is what I would say to the fact that it doesn't. We're talking about one issue. Like this is a thing that's going to play out over several issues.
Right.
And to say like it's not, I can't say it's going to deliver or not, or it's going to be ultimately worth it or not, because of course, like this is just the very beginning part. So like I kind of hold judgment on whether it was worth it to dip into that or not. But also I'm always like, and I know this has already drawn a bunch of things on like social media and stuff of like, don't mess with my baby. That's a great movie. And it is, because exactly for the reasons you said, though, it is simple. Like if you go back and watch that, like I watched that last year, like it's really good. I love it. It's also very simple. And so it's nice to actually add some complexity. We'll see if that pays off. But it also doesn't alter the original in any way. So like I always tell people, like it doesn't rob you of, like every time I hear someone say like it screws up my childhood, I'm like, I vomit a little bit inside. Like it's like, just get over it. It does not mess with that in any way. That's still intact. This is something different to play with the material.
Yeah, and it is a low invasive thing because Andrea Beaumont just got on a steam liner and disappeared into hiding for whatever. So she could come back whenever. It's not like we had to resurrect her with like a hell spell or something. So yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how this plays out and if these intersecting storylines really do feel, because there's obvious thematic connection between like, you know, the past and the future and Catwoman and Joker's interactions when the early days of their kind of costume hijinks and then this later time when they're older. And in the middle is the story with Batman and Phantasm and Joker. So going to be interested to see what goes on with Batman, Catwoman. But as always, like with every Tom King book, not at all what I expected when I opened the cover. So here we go. All right. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We got a couple quick mentions to go through in our little rundowns. I just wanted to mention really quick the ending of HBO's The Undoing, that murder mystery with Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, which was pretty excellent TV drama for this kind of fall season. And the ending, you want to talk about kind of things. It's really kind of a feat when a show can, you know, a mystery show seemingly tells you what's happening in the first episode and throws you a bunch of red herrings and then brings it back to, no, this is what was really happening the whole time that we told you, and still makes it compelling. And The Undoing very much did that. So yeah, if you have HBO Max, and you haven't checked that out because it was a really good show, and really great performances. And some people definitely need some Emmy noms. Hugh Grant is still the man. So yeah. Mm-hmm. And Fargo season 4 was the most Fargo. I've said before, it was the most Fargo of all the Fargos and my favorite. And this, if they don't get like a bunch of Emmys for the writing and production of this season of the show, I'll be on the floor. Like Noah Hawley and that writing team, it was amazing this season. One of the best seasons of TV I've seen in a long time, Fargo season 4, and best of the series for me. And it even ends on an epilogue twist that this was all actually just the secret origin story of one of the series' fan favorite villains. And so we now have an origin story for that villain. So, wow. And it connects back to season 2. So that was an unexpected surprise. Wow. A lot of people called that theory, but I'm not that deep into Fargo, universe, but a lot of people figured it out. But it was a nice reveal at the end of the show that this was just kind of like I said, the origin story of a fan favorite character. So those were my 2 mentions on the TV front. Matt, you got new comics for us this week. Hit us up.
Yeah. So we talked about previously, Batman number 104 is out. That does you finally get the origin of Ghostmaker for like a full-on origin between him and Bruce. So that's interesting. We got Thor number 10, Daredevil number 25, Hellions number 7, Deceased Dead Planet number 6, King in Black. Null is the full like mainstream big event here coming up. So this is the first issue. Black Widow number 4, Far Sector number 9, Batman The Adventures Continue number 7. The new event that is starting up in DC, Justice League Endless Winter, kicks off in that one shot. Buffy the Vampire Slayer number 20, The Union number 1, Heavy number 3, Erratic number 1, which is about a teen that can only use his powers for 10 minutes at a time. That kickstarts this week as well. And then Dryad number 7. So that's comics.
Man, I can't believe it. Next show. If for our last 2-show arc, we got to talk about the end of Ten of Swords. I forgot about that. We did not talk about that. Ten of Swords of Destruction was really good, and I'm kind of psyched for what happens next. And I think you want to talk about crossovers. That was the most marvelly crossover ending I have seen in a long time, and I was there for it. So we're going to break down Ten of Swords ending next time.
Also an event that played out like no one expected.
Yeah, really. Like, you are not kidding. So we're going to talk about that next time. But that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we will be putting up new episodes weekly. Where you can listen is on the site, comicbook.com, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. You can tell your smart home devices to fire up Comic Book Nation podcast, or you can watch video of the show live on Facebook weekly or on the Comic Book Nation YouTube page. If you want to interact with us or the show, we're at Comic Book Nation Twitter handle and the Comic Book Nation hashtag, or you can hit me up at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
You can find me at Janelle Wheeler.
And I'm at Jamie Lovett.
That'll do it. Thank you guys for listening in. If you love the show, go on Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review, because after COVID, we are sending all our 5-star reviewers a complimentary t-shirt, and you want to get one. So be sure to leave us a 5-star review. Otherwise, that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. Thank you guys. Peace.
Deuces.